Ladies and gentlemen, order in the court. Today's proceedings finds the people versus James McGill.
Legal troubles got you down? Bosses refusing the payout? Hit and run leave you stunned? Drug lords in your future? Maybe not. Because he'll get your case dismissed. He'll get you the defense you deserve. But only if you say the words.
Oh no, I need legal representation. Whatever shall I do? What do I say? Oh, wait, I know. Better
Better Call
Call
Saul.
Saul. So, without further ado, let's begin judging Saul. Court is now in session.
You will atone.
Dramatic pause for the court is now in session. I was just so proud of myself that I got the let's begin part right. I was so proud of myself that I blew a line.
All right.
Dragon, my god, we just did like a 10-minute blooper reel of like I really wanted to say that other line. It was ridiculous. But how are you tonight, man? How are you?
Delayed, but I'm here.
Indeed. So we are here to talk about Breathe. It is Better Call Saul season 4, episode 2. We are of course a week behind, but rest assured, people, we are going to get out episode 3 in just a couple days. So you're not going to have to wait long for episode 3, but you did have to wait a little while for episode 2. So I apologize for that, because I especially apologize because episode 2 is a damn good episode, man. Like, this show is getting better and better. So let's Dragon, let's not even waste any time. Let's jump right into it. What do we have in terms of background? I know this episode, of course, has a very, very pivotal director. You want to set the stage for that?
Of course, of course, we love to highlight our directors and our writers on Better Call Saul because they usually hail from the Albuquerque verse. They've directed on Breaking Bad, and they've also directed on Better Call Saul. So in this case, though, we have a director who is we've been waiting for a long time we've been waiting for a few really kind of big name directors from Breaking Bad to make their debut.
I think right now the one that everyone's kind of like, of course, The Last Jedi changes things a bit, but I would love to see one with Rian Johnson.
And me, I'm waiting for Cranston. I really want to see Cranston direct on Better
That
Call
would
Saul.
be good.
Even if he doesn't show up, I just want him to direct. To be quite honest, I just want him to be there.
Mm-hmm.
I know he's visited the set once. So, it's not out of the realm possibly, but no, out of those, there are 3 big names, and we already covered 2 of them. So the third one is the one we have directing this fine episode. It is Michelle MacLaren.
Woo!
Yeah. Of course, Michelle MacLaren, just to kind of highlight here, we have something really interesting. Our director and our writer actually have worked together as a team on various episodes of Breaking Bad. Michelle MacLaren, just to kind of highlight a few with her kind of writing partner on this one. Michelle MacLaren, she had directed 1 Minute and Shotgun, along with big writer, guy who has written some of my favorite episodes of Better Call Saul, to be quite frank, the great Tom Schnauz.
Nice, yeah.
Tom Schnauz wrote one of my favorite episodes of Better Call Saul. Maybe not, again, he didn't write Inflatable, but he did write, because I believe that was Gordon Smith. Tom Schnauz wrote Expenses, my favorite from last season. Tom Schnauz, just a little thing I found out, the only bit of background I really have on this team. So Tom Schnauz, based on the episodes that are listed with Michelle MacLaren, he had written those that she had directed. So they've worked together on those on 1 Minute and Shotgun. Mm-hmm. And a few others, but those are like kind of the 2 standouts. But Tom Schnauz actually had some health problems this season, Tiki. Tom Schnauz, sometimes he directs, but this season he wasn't. He only did pickups this season because he actually, thankfully, I'm going to say this, don't want to scare anybody here. Tom Schnauz, he actually was. They revealed this in the Insider podcast. Tom Schnauz was actually diagnosed with stage 1 prostate cancer, but they caught it. So from what we hear, it's in good shape. And he's been kind of spouting off kind of the PSA of they lowered the age for prostate checks. So if you're 45 or older, most definitely get it checked, folks. You could save your life. So word of wisdom from the great Tom Schnauz, one of the great writers from the Albuquerque verse.
All right, so is that going to transition us into the episode then?
Yeah, let's dive right into it.
Dragon, that's a smooth transition because we go from a nice life-saving event to a hospital bed and someone who might, we know from Breaking Bad is going to make it through, but it's not looking very good for dear old Hector Salamanca right now.
So we check back in with this really mythic moment from the Albuquerque verse with Hector Salamanca post again the day night cycle of events because time is kind of a funny thing in the Albuquerque verse because you always have Breaking Bad doesn't take as long as like the amount of seasons that you do have with that. So technically, like roughly 2.5 years passes in Breaking Bad, and in this case, this season starts off pretty much day night from where the last season left off. So we're really you can really track the time very well. So Hector Salamanca, probably within the same week, maybe if not the day after he's been admitted to the hospital. He's being examined in his hospital room, but in the dead of night. This is Hector Salamanca post his stroke, and I love that we have the beeping of the machinery of the hospital, beeping like the heart monitor, as like a foreshadow for the bell dinging. That's kind of nice.
Yeah, lots of. You're right, Dragon. Mythic is the word that I would kind of use to describe that. Of course, we have the Breaking Bad doctor there.
Yes, we have. And again, I was reminded of this because we know this guy. J.B. Blanc has played the Gus Fring's doctor friend.
That's
we
what I'm
know
saying.
A little bit
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
But here's the thing: this guy's name, because we see him a couple times, but I don't know if we remark about this every time about him. But he's Dr. Barry Goodman, and it kind of makes you think. When they were crafting character names, they had a Saul Goodman. Now we have a Dr. Goodman. I wonder if that ever occurred to them in the writers' room. Because I mean, that's his credited name, Dr. Barry Goodman. So I love the lighting here. It's like the dark room. We have like this little, basically a little pen light, so you can examine the eyes, the reflexes, and such. And Tiki, I can vouch for this. This is actually like when people are in stages of paralysis or like kind of comatose. You use this little device that the doctor uses on his feet, like a little kind of spike wheel. They kind of test the reflexes and like pins and needles feeling in the leg, see if you get like a response. Like this is all actual medical stuff that you do to somebody to kind of see how they're recovering and such. So we reveal, so Dr. Barry Goodman's like, hey, that guy and Victor, they're kind of secretly getting an update on Hector Salamanca's condition for Gus, who's waiting outside. We have this really great moment where they have to hide because some doctors are coming around the room and they're kind of like they looks to him like ditch the light, kind of very clandestine, very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Then they signal to Gus below. Okay, we got what we need here. So then Dr. Goodman, he relays the news to Gus. And we definitely allude to, we saw Goodman, interestingly, we saw Goodman in a previous episode of Better Call Saul. Remember, he gave Mike the bag of meth to basically cripple Salamanca's up.
Those like Breaking Bad side characters that just kind of tends to pop up here and there.
He does, and they've definitely teased. When we get towards the end of the scene, I'll tell you something really interesting about this episode. But we definitely have a past between Gus and this doctor. And I got to tell you, I love J.B. Blanc. J.B. Blanc, he's done voice. He's a good voice actor, by the way. In case you don't know, he voiced Bane once in. Remember Arkham Origins, the video game we talked about for Christmas in July.
Yeah, sure.
He was Bane in that. He's the next to Joe. So, yes, we definitely allude to a past between him and Gus and just kind of the cadence of the acting here. So, Salamanca's in a coma and he's stable, but it's uncertain if he's going to wake up. And even if he does wake up, it's uncertain at this point if he's even going to wake up.
And Gus, in all his chilly glory, Dragon, what is his response?
That is unacceptable.
Dragon, I can just tell you, man, it is so good. Like, of course, I feel like we're building up Gus Fring all over again. I feel like season 2 was kind of like very appropriately like season 2 Gus Fring in Breaking Bad. You know what I mean? Like you knew this dude was up to something, but you didn't really get to see the layers of that. And I feel like season 3, I mean, with season 3 of Better Call Saul with Gus. And now season 4, Dragon, we're really going full force with him. And this episode is well, let's just say by the end of it, Gus is back to his good old, like, you know what? I think I'm going to take a cue from Marvel Netflix and kill someone. But not just kill someone. Kill someone in a really creative yet horrifying way. Because I like that mixture. All right. Anyways.
So Dr. Goodman here, he recommends John Hopkins. Basically, some doctors at John Hopkins. Like, basically, it's not a promise of like they'll fix him up real good, but because this hospital's good. But I'm just saying that if you want a semblance of a chance, you gotta give him the John Hopkins, you get doctors from John Hopkins to look him over. And then this is where we get kind of the backstory between Goodman and Fring here, because we know we saw now what we've seen with Dr. Goodman specifically is, and I like this. I like that we didn't see him directly in relation to Fring. We saw because remember, if I'm remembering correctly, I want to say. Bear in mind, I have watched the Better Call Saul episodes religiously. I just want to make sure I'm not botching this detail. From what I can remember, it was in no, it had to be last season. I can't remember if Fring wanted Mike to basically cripple the operations, or if Mike's guy, or if, if the Joe DeRosa vet character sent him to Dr. Goodman to get the meth.
Uh-huh.
Can't quite recall, because I can't remember how involved Fring was at that point in season 3. But regardless, sorry. Yes, we do have this really great personal bit here where he says Gustavo, and I love when he calls him Gustavo. By the way, just kind of has like that familiarity to it. Gustavo, even if he, as is right now, I can see no better judgment on this man. Again, knowing what he's done to Gus Fring, killing his best friend in the whole world and everything, just kind of doing such horrible things to Gus Fring. Like I can't see any more fitting judgment on this man, Gustavo. And Gus has like the really winning line of the whole thing, the haunting line. Again, I love that Gus has kind of this, if not a code, then he has like a vengeance that he wants to exact. And he has plans for Hector Salamanca. And again, because the idea here is like Gus was robbed of his revenge, essentially. And this is like Gus in a position of, I kind of got what I wanted, but it wasn't by my own hand. And that just simply isn't done. And Gus has that line of, I decide what he deserves. No one else. Mm-hmm. Excellent line. And I heard that there was an airport scene. We were going to have a flashback, and they said they might do this next season, for all we know. They were going to have a scene, I think they cut it for budget, where they're in an airport and you saw Gus meeting the doctor for the first time in an airport.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think that was needed.
Well, sure, but I mean, I'm just saying to you, based on what we have with like Inflatable, remember Inflatable, we were going to see that scene in season 1, then they held it off for season 2 and played so much better. So it gets me really excited if we're ever going to see that scene again,
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, I'm just excited to hear, like, okay, they have some scenes at the ready for Gus Fring flashbacks, which could be very fascinating. I'm down for it. So last time we got a Gus Fring flashback, it was phenomenal. The death of Max Archuleta,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they're teasing me with a flashback with Gus Fring, Tiki. I'm not going to have any qualms about it.
All right.
All right, so keep takes.
So just generally speaking, though, just excellent cold open. And as I said, it's really great to have like dark, threatening, like even him saying a sentence to you is going to send blood chilling down your veins. Gus Fring and back in action. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right. I'm kind of geeking out about it a little bit.
So Kim Wexler, she awakens.
Yes. Not Skylar White.
Thank goodness.
Okay, so she's awakened to Jimmy making breakfast, all kinds of breakfast, more ambitious than usual, like fresh squeezed orange juice.
I gotta tell you, I love how cute. Again, they're really setting you up for such a fall this season with this, and it's gonna break my heart. I know it. It's just their relationship is so cute, and I love it. Where Jimmy's making her breakfast in the morning, and he's so obsessed with kind of making her. Heal faster and feel comfortable and everything, and the fact that she's woken up by him making breakfast, and this thing kills me, Tiki, how beautiful this relationship is here, where we have this great coupley dialogue between them, where he's saying, "Oh, I woke you up, didn't I?" And he says, "No, you didn't wake me up." Again, we saw clearly that she was woken up by Jimmy, but she's lying to make him feel better. And I thought that was so nice.
I like how, just realistically, Jimmy's like, "No, I did. You don't have to save face about it."
It's great. And also, a little catch, the juicer that Jimmy has to make the OJ, the fresh squeezed OJ, I'm convinced that's the same juicer that he brought in to get fired from Davison, Maine.
No. Oh, my God. Yes. Oh, that's a great call, Dragon.
Which was a Tom... Now, that was a Tom Schnauz...
Oh, those were the days, weren't they? Oh, Jesus. That's a great callback.
I can't remember if either Tom Schnell. Here's the thing: I can't remember if Tom Schnell's directed Inflatable or not, but that might be a direct correlation between Schnell's in this episode and that episode. I'm not sure. Anyway, okay, so we have the juicer again. Might be the very same, very likely because the end June brought that in specifically to get fired. So he probably took it with him when he was leaving.
Uh-huh.
Okay, anyway, so then of course he provides bacon. Of course, like yes, that I believe has healing properties. Just Kim Wexler being adorable in this scene. Let's see. So again, he's trying to make her all comfy and cozy, making her breakfast and such. Just leftover bacon from the breakfast sandwich that he was making. We set up that Kim's basically turned her apartment, her place, into kind of a temporary. She's kind of making her own office, her home office essentially. And Jimmy doesn't want to. I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead a little bit here. Jimmy tells Kim they have some prospective job interviews today.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is kind of what we've been seeing in the trailers and the marketing and everything. That Kim's telling Jimmy, no one's going to ding you for taking some time to yourself after your brothers just died, after Chuck. And of course, Jim's saying, why wait? It's just, why wait? We need the money anyway, so I might as well just kind of basically get back on the horse, essentially. So, plus, I want to get out of your hair and your office now. I don't want to be a distraction. Of course, she's being so loving here. Like, no, you're not going to be a distraction. You're right, because I'm going to be finding me a job.
Right.
That Tiki, this bit again, it's so similar to her just saying like good luck, and it's meaning it. She wants to get into like good luck. She wants to be supportive in every way, and I think that's delightful. It's gonna be so sad to see these two kids get split apart.
That's the thing, Dragon. That's the whole like Shakespearean tragedy of this whole season. Is like I feel like it's like we're watching the Titanic sink in a relationship form.
Yeah. Okay, so we have
so much time and effort went into this. No.
So we go from a kind of a lovely, grand scheme Shakespearean tragedy to the more direct Shakespearean tragedy with Mr. Vargas. Take us to the heartbreak of Mr. Vargas scene, Tiki.
Oh God. Okay, so let's see. So Vargas is
Mr. Vargas, Nacho's dad.
Oh yes. Okay. So Nacho's dad is oh man, Dragon, this one hit me pretty hard.
I know, it's so sad.
It's so sad. We need Vera Farmiga in here to lighten the mood, Dragon. Like he's just like, don't worry, guys. I have inside out tissues. We'll get through this together.
Of course, it's like a mom purse thing where she has like the purse full of everything you could ever possibly need. Is channeling Norma Bates in her off time.
So, Dragon, I gotta say that Nacho's journey through season 4 so far, oh my God, it's a dark road.
Oh, certainly. I mean, again, I remember Michael Mando. He did promise that Nacho's on he's on a redemptive arc this season because he wants to get out from the wrong crowd essentially, but it's going to be a tough road in getting there for him. I think in a way, Nacho's trying. My guess on what Mando said there, and we kind of see the inklings of it here. Nacho's trying to redeem himself in the eyes of his father, which is kind of an impossible thing to do, especially given what's most likely to befall Nacho. We know Nacho, ever since the get-go of honestly, ever since Breaking Bad, we've known that this Nacho character, some bad stuff was going to befall him. Ever since it was Ignacio. So Nacho's kind of bad stuff's going to come for Nacho. I think we're seeing that's going to start here, and I still think we have a good chance of seeing the Nacho stuff unfold this season. They kind of links up with Breaking Bad. Who knows? But so we have Mr. Vargas arriving the day after Salamanca was taken out, and the day where Nacho, he made that big call. Like, okay, well, I'm going to have to kill my boss before he went to the whole pill plant. Like he was lucky that Salamanca had his stroke before he was going to legitimately bullet him to save his father. So a lot of life and death circumstances like the day after. So we have this great lighting and shadow work here as we see remember this lighting and shadow take? You just listen like he just absorbed like all black and shadow looked great. Sean McLaren, she knows how to direct in episodes like McLaren. Yes.
Yeah.
So Nacho tries to reassure his father, and basically his father does this thing that breaks my heart, Tiggy, where he sees his son there, and it's basically he ignores his son. He basically does this thing I call he assumes the position. It's like this. He assumes.
Oh man, Dragon, when you put it like that,
But he does. No, Tiggy. He assumes the defeated position of I'm a powerless man. I have to basically it basically does I'm the abused shopkeeper here where I lay out the money for the debt collector. It's like just that defeated man, and my son's doing it out of all times, and I just
Right.
can't bear
Yeah,
to look
it's
at him.
just so many knives being twisted all at once here.
And just seeing the heartbreak and the fact that he won't look at his son, it's just like Mr.
Uh-huh.
Gorga. He walks up there, he takes the money out, he assumes the position of powerlessness, where he has like the three stacks of money there because he assumes like either Nacho or Salamanca is going to come to collect, and again Nacho comes up to him, reassures him like no, everything's fine, Papa, you don't have to do that. And basically, he tries to reassure him, and his father won't look at him, won't acknowledge him, and he won't because he doesn't believe him. And this beat goes by where Nacho takes the money, presumably just to facilitate things. Like he's not taking money from his father, but he's taking money to. Well, I might as well use this to kind of like facilitate things and kind of basically settle debts and stuff. That's what I
Uh-huh.
figured it was. At the point he takes the money, one also to reassure his father, like if he doesn't believe me, I'll quail his thoughts, whatever.
No, I mean that's how I took it. That's how I took it. Basically, like he took the money, like he probably has every intention of returning it.
Well, sure, but I mean, if anything, he'll be taking just to make sure that okay, I can use this to get out of the life. So regardless, it's for a practical purpose. If not just purely to assuade his father at the moment. So either
Yeah,
way.
that's true. That's true.
So like he's not just using it for himself. That's what I'm getting. Again, anyway,
Uh-huh.
the point is, Sinatra begins to leave, and his father, and he says a word to him here. He says, "When will it be over for you?" Because again, he does feel genuine concern as Nacho walks out the door, and it's that fatherly concern here, and he tells him he's working on it. And oh boy, we're going to see where that goes down the line, especially at the end of this episode.
Oh yeah.
Nacho. So again, he wants out, but he's just trying to find the right time in this position, in this kind of this transition of power in the cartel ranks, which is really difficult. So that's the thing. So Nacho wants out, and he's trying to get out very, very proactively, but he still has to play it just right because again, he's the guy who did this, so he's in hot water. And
Uh-huh.
unbeknownst to him, vultures are kind of swarming around him in the form of Giancarlo Esposito.
God.
So let's go to Neff Copiers, Tiki.
Giancarlo Esposito. Forget about playing the wolf in Jungle Book. He should have played the vulture. Just one vulture. Just the singular vulture.
God.
And he would have had the accents of all four of the Beatles, and somehow he would have made it terrifying.
I gotta tell you, I've always wanted to hear Giancarlo Esposito. I know he did. He voiced Ra's al Ghul once. I just wish the project was better. But I gotta tell you, in my mind, short of the great Ricardo Montalban, which unfortunately cannot be realized anymore, I've always I wanted Giancarlo Esposito to voice Bane once. I think that would be great. Honestly, I think he'd be an excellent Bane, voice wise. Anyway, so
He does kind of have that intimidation meets like hoity-toity, like British demeanor.
that's what I'm saying. The fact that he doesn't have to be physically imposing to be, he
Uh-huh,
can be
uh-huh.
calculated and terrifying like Bane usually is, like it's the way he's usually characterized. So let's go to Neff Copiers.
Oh God, here we go, Dragon. Here we go. This is one of two scenes in the episode that I feel like is classic, maybe top 20 Better Call Saul Breaking Bad scenes of all time.
This is great. By the way, this is sweet design work on this copy store. By the way, I mean, I love that. And Vince Gilligan pointed this out. I have to agree with him. It's great. I love the copiers on the turntable. Like it's a '60s car emporium of some kind. Like they're on these turntables. It's like they're showing off. They're selling the heck out of these copiers. We're like, how much do you really need to sell a copier when you think about it? It's like just have them in a box. Like you don't even need them out on the show floor. I mean, maybe like one or two, but like they're all over the place and like on these little spinny displays, like the little lazy Susan displays. Like check it out from all sides. All we need are like models to kind of like these like attractive models. Like look at this copier, like something like that.
And you
Look
know
at that
what? You
paper.
know what? Jimmy is going to walk in and love copiers like Hank Hill loves propane and put propane accessories, Dragon.
That is true. So we have Jimmy and Seymour. Seymour is kind of our assistant, if not co-owner. I think he's the assistant, the manager or something. Seymour. He basically gives Jimmy a tour of the place, and Jimmy, of course, he surprises with his genuine. And again, I think it is coming from a genuine place because we know he's from the mailroom. But again, Jimmy this season, it's kind of hard to tell how genuine he is in certain places. But he came off to me. Maybe I'm a sheep, Tiki. Maybe that's it. Maybe I'm just a sheep and he's the wolf. To quote Inflatable.
Okay, well, I
Um,
mean, that's the thing about this scene is that I feel like there's just a ton of ambiguity about what's going on here.
True.
Just like through and through, we're just like we're left to our own devices in terms of like in terms of like what exactly is Jimmy reacting to? Is he reacting? Is it an act? You know what I mean?
I mean, Jimmy McGill is a Rorschach test this season, and I love that we're trusting the audience that much this season to do that. I'm not saying they haven't trusted the audience before, but like now they're taking full advantage of the fact that people pay attention to the show, and we're going to respect that. And we're going to show like you're going to read in what you want to read into the scene, but you're never going to quite know all the answers until maybe the end of the season. You know, I love that. So again, Jimmy's he's basically wowing the guy with like what seems to me to be like a genuine and heartfelt kind of mailroom knowledge that he's acquired over those years in the mailroom over copiers. Like the guy does have a genuine kind of connection to these machines. And I think Jimmy, I read it that it is coming from a real place, but Jimmy is kind of using this to get the job. Like I think he starts off wanting to get the job. That's what I think happens, and we'll get to it when we get to it. I just think he starts off genuinely wanting the job and he's trying to impress. By the same token, as he's being led,
no, Dragon. There's a turning point, and I agree. There's an absolute turning point, and I have a theory about it, and I think you and I might be on the right track with the theory. But like I said, we'll there's a lot to dissect in this scene, so let's go through it as quick as we can.
All right, let's see. So he's basically being taken on the tour here by copiers and the history and such, and Jimmy knows a lot of the copier history. Like importantly, there's one note we got to hit that might be important going forward. Tiki. The 6500 color copier. So the 6500 color copier, Jimmy remembers from Chicago, from Cicero, and basically what Seymour here mentions that it was used. I've heard some people have used it for counterfeiting, used it to make phony $5.
I love this gesture on Jimmy's part. Jimmy's just like, that is wrong.
Again, Jimmy's reaction there of like, oh boy, it's
just like he's living and breathing. You know, it's as if Hank Hill found out that propane somehow found a way to counterfeit $5 bills.
He just says like, what? That's not right. That's what he says. And again, you gotta wonder because Jimmy has like a few moments here where again, like if Jimmy has an ulterior motive, either it gets kind of like the inkling starts here, or again, like we're setting up stuff for later in the season. It's a little unclear because again, that counterfeiting thing of like, oh, again, Jimmy. The way I read that Jimmy has used that machine in Cicero to make to counterfeit things. I think he's used it.
I buy it.
So I believe that's why, like, I think Odenkirk's selling that line just the right way, where it sounds like, I think it's just, what? That's not right. He's just sounding silly. Okay, he knows he's done that. So Jimmy then, a big moment here, Jimmy notices a Hummel. Of course, folks, now we know the Hummel famously from Alpine Shepherd Boy.
Oh,
Mrs. Strauss, I believe, the old woman on the.
Oh God, Dragon! Of course, we can't forget about Alpine Shepherd Boy if we wanted to, because that's the thing that fucked up the whole titling pattern of season 1.
And I still think that again, if you ever listen to that, you can hear in Peter Gould's voice, it sticks in his craw that they couldn't get Jello. That's the thing. You can hear it from there. Just he wanted Jello because it was perfect, but they couldn't clear Jello.
I still think they should have went with Hello.
Yeah, but I think they would have had to rewrite. I think it was like a last minute thing, Tika. That's what I think it is. Like I think they would have rewritten it Hello, but Jello was the initial big sell of the thing.
All right.
Anyway, so Jimmy notices a little Hummel, of course, Hummel from the Alpine Shepherd Boy line. Basically, they're kind of like the best approximation, like one of the little kind of tchotchkes you find like a drugstore or something, or like a little Hallmark store. They're like. They're like these precious figurines. Like the line I have is like they're like these precious figurines. They're like these cutesy little children thing where like they're holding like adorable things. They're dressed in like kind of these. In this case, all the Hummels are like dressed in lederhosen for some reason. I don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
But
crossover.
Jimmy notices a little Hummel in a case. And of course, it reminds him. Now, I think thematically, this reminds Jimmy of the virtuous path he once took. I think initially, and again, it's fascinating to see how this reads on some people. I think Jimmy sees the Hummel. My first read on it was that he's reminded of the virtuous path he used to take with Mrs. Strauss and the old folks.
Sure, I could buy that.
But by the same token, we know by the end of this episode, a sinister purpose has crossed his mind. The real question is, does that cross his mind at this point or not? That's interesting. I don't think so, but I'm saying I think it's a very interesting question. That quite possibly could have. So let's see. So of course, then we have like, oh, look at that wall of crap. And I like the fact that this guy, Mr. Neff, like he walks in there. Mr. Neff seems like a nice guy. By the same token, he seems like not the brightest guy.
Right, right.
Whereas, look at that wall of crap. And I like that kind of insults, kind of like Jimmy, like getting all wistful and nostalgic. Look at crap, it means nothing. So then we meet Mr. Neff, and basically the Jimmy's interviewing for an office-to-office sales job. Essentially, that's what the interview's about. And basically, the job is like, okay, I'll upgrade. Basically, want to upgrade your copy. I'm sorry, you want to take us through this?
Yeah. Okay, so basically basically what he's saying is that, like, he's kind of giving the sales pitch of, I'm not a salesman, but I'm a lawyer, and lawyers have to sell people every day. And he's also kind of going on about about how he was in the mailroom, how he knows how the copier is important. It's kind of like a little preamble to the big monologue we're going to get a little bit later on in the scene. But generally speaking, for the interview, it's kind of like I do think it's from the heart a little bit. You know what I mean? I think it's like, I don't know. We'll get into ulterior motives and theories and stuff like that, because I do think there is stuff to be said here. But for now, I definitely think it was a good. As I said, I kind of view this first interview as sort of like, it's a preamble.
All right. Of course, you with the whole snakes and lawyers gag that we've been getting
Of
a lot in
course,
the
of
marketing. The
course.
whole
Yeah,
like,
that's something that we've been getting in pretty much every trailer.
sure. Let's see. So basically, all goes well, and he says, "Okay, well, here again, seemingly the job interview goes well. Like his job is like to upgrade the copiers. And by the way, basically upgrade being his operative thing. I think that might be thematic too, of like he's upgrading himself from Jimmy to Saul Goodman. So again, it's kind of like an upgrade. And in reality, it's kind of a downgrade, but it's like in his own mind, it's like kind of an upgrade. And so thematically, he's trying to upgrade himself through the
I
season.
can
It
see that.
seems.
Yeah.
Um, all goes well, you'll hear from us in a week or so. And so Jimmy's almost out the door, and then we get the turn.
Okay. Give me 1 second and let me pull up. Like, I might be able to get the entire monologue for you. All right.
All right, well, let me set it up then. So
Okay.
we have the turn. So basically, Jimmy's walking out the door. He's almost out the door, and then he kind of stops in his tracks, and a thought occurs to Jimmy, and basically, he's basically mulling over. He wants to gauge these guys in the room here. We don't quite know this at this point, but he's kind of Jimmy turns around. It's like a Bill is going to stop in your footstep moment. He turns around, he walks back in the office, asks for like another minute, and amazingly, he begins to sell them on opportunity cost,
Yeah.
essentially.
I've got the whole thing here, Dragon.
All right, so Tiki? What does Jimmy say to
All
these
right.
men?
Look, I know you were going to take some time and consider your options, but maybe we can settle this right now. There's a little thing that we all know called opportunity cost. The time you spend looking for someone is time I could be out there working for you. And sure, there are salesmen with way more experience than me, but what are the chances one of them's going to come walking in through that door in the next week? And is it worth the wait? Maybe, maybe. But I can tell you this, none of them will have the connection to your machines that I do. None. I worked in the mail room. I know how important the copy machine is. Deadlines, last minute changes. I was in there. I was clearing paper jams. I was cleaning ink off gears and rollers, trying to figure out where the mystery streaks were coming from. I was down on my hands and knees with my tie over my shoulder and ink stained hands, and a line of assistants out the door, and they're all worried that they're going to lose their job if they don't get their documents in the next 5 minutes. I know better than anyone that the copier is the beating heart of any business. It goes down, it causes delays. That is a loss of money. That is frustrated employees. That's a negative environment. That is a business on life support. But you plug in one of your machines into the system, woo, that is a healthy, strong heartbeat. Ka-chunk, ka-chunk, ka-chunk. This is a healthy business. Ka-chunk, ka-chunk. That is a successful business. That is what we are selling.
So,
And what happens, Dragon?
Mr. Neff and Seymour here, they kind of confer for a moment, and they kind of whisper and basically saying, "Okay, send the other guy home because we got our guy here. Jimmy is hired. So again, episode over for Jimmy, right? Wrong. What happens is a moment goes by here, and this is a fascinating term. I was so happy this happened. I was like on the edge of my seat. I don't understand what's going on, but I love it. And I basically, I understand. You know what I mean, I was like in that moment, like, okay, what's Jimmy? I don't know what Jimmy's playing at necessarily, but I love it. I love what's going
uh,
on here. I love filling the blanks here. Like they're taking it seriously as the audience. It's great. Where Jimmy, Jimmy's dumbfounded, and he smoothly, very smoothly, he again amazingly. I love how this all happens with all of this happens right after he delivers excellent monologue. Like, one, he did a really good job interviewing in the first place. Then he does an even better job. And then he comes back in and basically he smoothly with the same power he had from those two previous monologues. He tears them down and critiques their folly. You're like basically saying you're out of your minds. You just hired me because
you don't know me. I just came in off the street.
There's a couple of cats. I want that. It's like, he's in front of you. Like you hired a guy who said the most fancy words. You know, like, I could be a serial killer. I could be a guy who pees in your coffee pot. I could be both.
Oh man, Dragon. I know you and I both are in love with this moment right here.
Yeah. So you're not.
And then we get a moment like towards the end to kind of sting out the scene where he's like, "I feel sorry for you." And Dragon, that's going to kind of transition us into our theories for this.
I heard a fascinating read on this scene from Bob Odenkirk. Again,
Okay.
Odenkirk is blowing my mind with these great. Again, I think Odenkirk, as the season's going on Better Call Saul, I think Odenkirk's thinking more and more about the role. Not to say he hadn't thought about it before. You got to remember, in Breaking Bad, he's just kind of playing like the clown of Breaking Bad. I mean that in a good way. He's just kind of playing
Oh
like
no, and I definitely felt that way watching Breaking Bad at certain points. You know, with Breaking Bad, I think the strongest connection you ever got to him is like, ah, oh, isn't that sweet? He's siding with Walt and Jesse over the other gangsters. You know what I mean? That's the
yeah.
most empathy you ever felt for Saul
I
Goodman.
think his nicest moment was he had like the nice moment was when he met the kid when he met Brock. That was like the nicest moment he's ever had like a genuine like that's you get like a little twinge of Jamie McGill in that scene. That's about it. And he's I think he's just been discovering and falling in love more and more with the role as it's gone on. He's become more and more kind of invested, involved in. Not that he wasn't even from the beginning. I think he just keeps getting better at it. And he keeps blowing my mind with these little insights as an actor. So basically, I think at this point in the season, in the series, Tiki, he's making assumptions about the character that are very brilliant and like kind of stupefy me. Like, yeah, I can buy that. I think that's what he's using to dictate the scene. And again, in a season that's very much kind of how we perceive Jimmy, I think that's an important thing to do because this scene, what he did, he kind of pulled from Inflatable. Hence the reason I keep citing it.
Sure.
Inflatable. Basically, his logic for like, at the very least how he played the scene. Again, he wasn't the guy who wrote this one, but at the very least how he played it was that he saw Neff and Seymour here as guys like his father, sheep like his father from Inflatable, from the coda at the top of Inflatable, where he was taken by a Saul Goodman kind of con man. And basically, Jimmy, like as the kid from that scene, he's just seeing like someone being fleeced, someone being taken advantage of, and the fact that he was basically gauging these guys to see like, if I really oversell this, if I like get the job without even a waiting period, what will happen? Are they going to be discerning or are they going to be suckers? And hence, like, you guys are suckers. I feel sorry for you. When he's saying I feel sorry for you, that's him saying basically he's kind of seeing a bit of his father in there. Like this is the kind of thing I was
Father.
embarrassed about.
Yes. That's exactly what I wanted to bring up, Dragon, because I feel like that's kind of the root of the thing here, Dragon. I feel like that's he can't work for people that remind him of his father. He can't work for people that have his father's same sort of naivete. I think that's the finger on the pulse of the situation right there.
Well, again, you're very like-minded Odenkirk there, and I think you're on the absolute right path for that, Teague. That's why I'm not. I love that choice, and I love how that plays, and I love you can kind of read into that from that logic. I love that. So,
And I think that makes the line "I feel sorry for you" that much more palatable. You know what I mean? Because it's like he, of course, felt pity for his father as well.
yeah, and also at the same time, I think part of it is like there is a. I think Jimmy does again from his years in the mailroom. My other read on is that I think all the father stuff is absolutely true, but on another level too, I think it's that he does have genuine respect for the copier and
Sure.
It's like he has respect for the copier, and he needs an attempt for what his grand plan is. He needs to show that he's been working. Again, I think my briefly again, we're not really going to go into the big theories of this episode, obviously, but I would say he's probably going to have a. I think he's gonna try to get his law license back, as we've kind of promised in sort of like some kind of press junkets and such. Most likely he's gonna be trying to get like a law license back, and to make that happen, I assume he needs attempts on the resume, hence all the job interviews. So doing that, I think one, it's like he's kind of insulted that these guys are running this place, and he has respect for the copier. He needs the attempts on there, and of course he's at war with himself a little bit this season. Therefore, he's kind of blowing some job interviews because he's kind of stuck in that mindset of like these guys. He's taking the job interviews too personally, like this, where he's reading into these guys as his father.
Okay, what do you think of another theory that I've heard, which is essentially that he's doing this intentionally and he's honing his craft?
Again, that's kind of what I'm saying. I think he needs just kind of like marks on the like he's made attempts, but at the same time he's figuring out who he is, like in this kind of this period after Chuck. So I think you're on. I think that's on the right path. I think he is. He's kind of getting better at his craft and basically figuring he wants to be Saul Goodman, but he doesn't know exactly what. Like he's not going from point A to point B necessarily. He has the name. We've seen Saul Goodman figured out last season. Okay, Saul Goodman's like his pseudonym. And basically, it's from getting to that, the strip mall lawyer. He's figuring out, like, how can I take this and turn it into a business? That's essentially what he's figuring out this season. I think this is the stuff that's him formulating that, Tiki. I think that's the breadcrumbs that are laying here.
Okay, and without missing a beat, Jimmy pulls out a piece of paper, calls someone, asks if the interviews are still on, and heads out on his next adventure.
Map. It was pull out a map to see
what yes, sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry. To be fair, I assumed it was a map. Actually, you might be right. It might be the newspaper. I don't know. So, sorry, I was right.
I thought it was the newspaper because that's where the phone number for the hiring ad would be, right?
Like I swear, here's the thing. I swear to you, like I just when you pulled that, I assumed a map because you pulled out a map and you put it on the.
I mean, you could be right. You could be right. I'm just.
I don't know. I think you're. I'm just saying now you bring up. I don't know why I didn't think about that.
Semantics.
I think you're absolutely right because I was thinking of the founder or something like he's putting out the map when he's looking when he's from point to point B. I was thinking of. I think you're right. So forget what I was saying. All right. Anyway, okay. So we have this great. Oh my God, we have this beautiful McLaren shot where we have Kaylee on the swing.
Oh
Kaylee
yeah.
We have Kaylee on the swing in the very same park from Breaking Bad, where very same park where in Breaking Bad the last scene between Mike and Kaylee happened, where Mike had to leave Kaylee in the park when the police were on to him when he was about to be arrested. Which, by the way, this whole thing is a reference to the fact that Jonathan Banks, he's always disagreed with that scene. He never believed that it was the right choice for Mike to leave Kaylee in the park. That's kind of where they're pulling that from.
So while we get into that, shall we kind of set something up?
I think we should.
All right.
So, folks, as you can plainly see before you, we have a fondness for not just
we have a slight, we kind of like him a little bit.
Some would say eerie fixation. We say loving tribute. So, it's like a fine line.
You could say our love is like a time bomb, just tick, tick, ticking away.
Sure. Yes, of course. Yeah, we love not only the actor Jonathan Banks, but we love the character Mike Ehrmantraut that he's built for at least 2 series now. And of course, we like to kind of track that love per season, and we kind of like to add on to that love, basically kind of like a little earmark of like each episode. So we have, of course, you can explain and see we heart Mike. We have Jonathan Banks, the actor, in dead center here, because of course Jonathan Banks. Without Jonathan Banks,
where did you find this picture, Dragon? I'm very curious.
I've told you before, but it was for the folks at home.
I know you've told me before. It's called a podcast for the folks at home.
Community.
Community, right.
The hit show Community.
All right.
Yeah. John Banks was basically in the kind of this very kind of heavenly setting, eating cake. Yeah. Anyways, of course, we have Jonathan Banks kind of dead center here, and of course, we have basically screenshots from the previous episodes. That's kind of what we're keeping track of, kind of a Mike, either Mike or Mike thematic of each episode. So we have, of course, Mike as the security man on the left there, and we have Mike going the magical. Which, back to our scene, Mike is getting the call about magical.
Yes, and so of course we get a little bit of an adorable banter between Mike and Kaylee, where Kaylee's like, 5 more minutes? All right, 5 minutes, but you're on the clock.
I gotta tell you, Tiki, this scene really this warmed my heart so much. Yeah, I love that we had such a depressing father and son. While we have such a lovely grandfather and granddaughter.
You're right about that, Dragon, because that father-son shit was just that was a little too real.
Tiki, this to me read as again like this is a meta moment here, Tiki. Where again, this is like them apologizing to Jonathan Banks for yeah, we understand. Like, because you got to remember, Jonathan Banks made two decisions in all Breaking Bad. Jonathan Banks he uh he came up with the whole basically the whole backstory for Mike. He came up with the idea that Stacy was not his daughter, that his son got killed. That was Jonathan Banks' idea. They ran with for Better Call
Uh-huh.
Saul. And the other again, this is them kind of paying him back. We're like, yeah, we know you weren't happy with just kind of leaving Kaylee. The story necessitated, but it was still like it's a character move, and he knows that character, he loves that character, and this is kind of that. It's just this sweet moment. It's kind of like a soft like apology in the best of ways, where it's like the way Jonathan Banks plays, like he says, "Oh, honey, come on." I just love the way like John Banks, like he's kind of almost a little ornery there. It's like time to go, just 5 more minutes. Oh, come on, honey. It's just the way he says, "Oh, come on." It's like that's Jonathan Banks being like, "Oh, come on." But then he just, oh, "Okay, it's Kaylee," and he says 5 more minutes. And I just love the smile that he cracks. That smile is like, oh, it's like right. That's right out of a. Yeah, that's right out of Breaking Bad, right there. That smile, that delightful, like, oh, I love my granddaughter. That's adorable. I love it.
Mhm. All right.
Yep. All right.
So Mike
So,
is now walking into a very very odd art museum, art gallery type thing with some statues as you saw before.
well, here's T. It's not an art museum. It's Magical. Just has really fancy offices, like
Oh, okay, okay. I could have mistaken it for an art museum, Dragon. I
basically
just thought Lydia was like, "Hey, we'll meet here in this public setting, so it'll be less suspicious." Anyways,
I look. It's entirely. I don't know. They really vague about it, but I gotta tell you, it's like it's. I don't think it's an art museum because we have like all these offices and everything set up. I don't think art museums really do that, but I bear in mind it's in the realm of possibility. But I don't know.
uh-huh.
So, because she basically says she was stopping by, so I think it's like a magical location because we know Magical has several locations within Albuquerque, because that's what Mike references later on. So Mike arrives at one of the magical offices, very modern. Basically, that's kind of what the image you saw before, folks. Like Mike looking at modern art, not getting it. He goes to the I believe the Sandia room. Basically, like each again, it sounds like it's a very Albuquerque. I don't know, Tiki. I gotta tell you, it's more and more. I'm saying it sounds like more like an art museum, but it's just kind of weird that art museums that have like these office settings that are named after paintings. I don't know. They have
Right.
basically the Sandia room because each room has like a painting of like the mountain ranges or a location in
I mean, what are
Albuquerque.
you gonna do, Dragon? When you have that much money, your head is just like your head kind of goes to the clouds a little bit. You don't care about what the common folks want to see. You know what I mean? You're just like, no, give me elaborate, extravagant designs. Just throw money everywhere, every inch of the complex.
That's the thing. I just think Magical is the fancy place. I kind of
That's
like
what, yeah,
that.
I totally think you're on the money with that. It's like they're literally just throwing money around for the sake of throwing money around. All right.
So let's see. So then we have. So again, Mike's arrived, and Lydia's in the room. He takes to the scene.
Yeah, sure. So Lydia is telling Mike, like, what are you doing, man? Basically, like to shorten it a little bit, kind of like to get us through. She's just like, you can't keep doing this. You're just showing up and causing disturbances and stealing badges. She's really hung up on the badge thing, Dragon. And basically, Mike is saying that if he shows up at the warehouse, it makes for a better cover story. It matches the name to the face. It matches the name on the check. It gives the name on the check a face, essentially. And also he's going to be doing some actual security consulting, so consider that a bonus.
Sure,
And
sure.
Lydia's not happy. She's just like, no, you sit, we pay you. You know, don't think that this is anything more than that. And Mike's just like, oh no, no, I think basically she asks Mike what he's gonna do. Mike says that there's There's like 7 more, right, Dragon? Like he hit the first one, and now there's 7 more, something like that.
Uh, I believe so.
So
I
it's
believe
like a
it's
Super Mario RPG. This the Legend of the Seven Stars.
essentially Lydia's explains a paper transaction, therefore he does not need to do any of this, and it's risky. Again, Lydia, of course, we've seen Lydia at her worst in Breaking Bad. I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean we've seen her like her most paranoid, like post Fring. And like
Uh-huh.
yeah, her head's down. She's very nervous about things. We're seeing Lydia where she was kind of cocking, trying to give Mike orders, and Mike just saying, "No, that's not going to happen." Basically, yeah, and we have this really great kind of standoff between them here, where he says, like, are you going to do this with the other Albuquerque branches? And
Uh-huh.
what if I were to ask you not to keep doing this? He says, well, I'd ask you to reconsider as well. Essentially, saying I'd ask you to do the same. And so basically, what now? According to the writers, I believe according, if not to the Schnauz, then Vince Gilligan, someone confirmed this on the Insider podcast. Trying to think, Mike. One, it's like again, read into what you want to read into with Mike, and I don't think it'd be wrong. That again, one, there's a bit of boredom on Mike's end. He doesn't want to do nothing for something. He doesn't want to just sit home and just get checks and just kind of do nothing. I like the little boredom angle of it, but I mean, beyond that, he's securing the arrangement. That's the main reason he's doing this. He's securing his
Sure, sure.
arrangement that if he puts a face, basically, one putting a face to the name, yes, it does secure the story. It does make things like if anyone investigates it, well, then of course there are less questions because he does work there. But secondly, it does secure that in case Fring tries to screw him over, which again he probably wouldn't, but in case he does, he does have a foothold where there are witnesses, there are people that have seen him, and again, it's like basically securing his value in the thing. He doesn't want to just be on the sidelines. He doesn't want to just like be in Fring's pocket, like to pay a debt, to pay a favor. He wants to kind of see like he's earning his keep somehow. It doesn't like being beholden to Fring. He wants to be working with Fring. That's kind of the main reason he's doing all this. Um, so yes, all that's going on there. So I'm trying to think if there's anything. Okay, I think that's about it. Okay, so then we go to Doctor. It's Doctor Dissith. If I'm saying that right. We check back in with Salamanca. Checking back in with Salamanca, we see that he's been given he's giving bad news to the very intimidating cousins, the infamous cousins. Kind of the double mint gum commercial from hell, essentially. That's kind of what the cousins are. Sorry, are you there? Hello? All right. Anyway, what was I getting at? Oh, yeah. So, for Dr. Dissith, he's given bad news to the intimidating cousins. He introduces, the administrator comes in. The administrator comes in of the hospital. She introduces Dr. Maureen. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the last name, but Dr. Maureen. Let's kind of be forward here to be a little fresher. So Dr. Maureen, she comes in from Hopkins, from John Hopkins. She comes there. We see of course, this is Gus's doing, but the cousins don't necessarily know this. And I'm sorry. Basically, the scared doctor is happy to hand everything over to her. Like, okay, I don't need to be here for any of this. I don't need to. Sorry, hands all this over to her. Does not. I don't need to be involved here if I don't need to. Dr. Brucker. I think it's Dr. Brucker. I might be butchering. I think it's Dr. Maureen Brucker. Yep. We see that. I'm sorry. Can you want to take this? Hello? Hello? Sorry about that. Let me just keep going here. So, Dr. Brucker, very nice lady. She fills the cousins in on what's going on here with their Tio. Of course, a little comment we always hear, like Hector Salamanca referred to as Tio, and of course Tio, it was Hector Salamanca's name in Breaking Bad. Of course, it's what Tuco always called him. So it's like, oh, what have you done to my Tio? Good old this guy hearing Tio referred to. I think it's Spanish for uncle, I believe. So yeah, it's nice that she's multilingual. By the way, I thought it was kind of a nice touch. I don't know because the cousins are they're very non-vocal. If not non-vocal, they are they're purely Spanish speaking. If not just very men of many words to say the least. So it makes them even more imposing. They barely say anything. So basically, she says we're just to summarize it a little here. She says we're going to try to aid in in stimulating Hector's brain to kind of basically guide it so we can reconnect the connective tissue of the brain post the stroke. So basically, he'll be able to heal himself by some electrical impulses and such. Basically, once they can kind of jumpstart a recovery, it's essentially what they want to do. So Nacho and Arturo they enter the room and they're kind of a very awkward position where they're there, they're very confident in. Arturo is confident in his leadership because again they're kind of like supposed to kind of make ends meet on Salamanca's side here, and of course they have the cousins looking over their shoulder here, and they're kind of walking into all this. And basically she suggests, and basically they're put into this really funny position of like, oh hey look, the oh hey look the cousins. They're told like, hey, say things to him. There's a good chance he can hear you. It'll help his recovery. So you basically like make pleasantries with the guy like he's native, like he's a family member, which he is. But the cousin's not being the most vocal guys. After she leaves the room, says it was one of them says talk, tell him, talk to him. So basically Arturo and Nacho, especially poor Nacho here, he's nervous as all get out because one, he just doesn't want to be there, and two, he's got to make nice with Hector Salamanca even though he can't hear him. So it's a very intimidating position to be put in. Arturo just doesn't know what to say. He's kind of sheepishly he's reassuring Don Hector that operations are running smoothly, and we do get a really great tease here. We got a really neat tease at Lomas. Lomas, I believe, is the character I'm banking on being Stefan Stefan Kapicic. The Stefan Kapicic, the guy who plays Colossus in the Deadpool movies. We know we're getting this season of Better Call Saul. It could be very exciting. Let's see. So of course, Nacho promises again very kind of a double entendre. He says, "You're going to get past this. You'll be stronger than ever." Of course, we know for a fact he's going to, if not get stronger, he is going to endure this. He is going to survive, and of course, be even scarier than he is in kind of a creepy, kind of vaguely comatose way where he's just going to only ding a bell. So let's see. Nacho. Okay, so again, this is kind of like Nacho pinning his hopes on this, and of course, a foreshadow for the future of Hector Salamanca. Beyond that, let's see. Gus. Let's see. So Gus, he's cleaning the parking lot of Poise Hermanos. He gets a call from Lydia about. He gets a call from Lydia about Mike, a little meeting with Mike, and the innuendo is really nice in this scene, by the way, because it's like on an open channel, essentially over the phone call. So an open channel on the phone call, and basically saying like, your security consultant, and having some issues with them, without saying like, hey, you're your guy that you're funneling money from, without saying all the kind of laundering of it all. Just now is not a good time. So they make their conversation here, and he says basically again, Gus is vouching for Mike. So I was fearing that Gus would be a little peeved at Mike here, but no, he's like, yeah, I trust this guy. He's not a problem. It's like he respects Mike, and Tyrus comes by, and basically Gus is like, okay, enough time for this. No, she's like, well, what should I do if he tries to take another badge? Well, then I suggest you give that man a badge. So and Gus kind of sticking with his guns with Mike, and of course we know for a fact it's going to pay off. It's going to pay off real nicely. So far, Gus learns that there's no change in. Tyrus tells Gus there's no change in Salamanca's condition. Gus gives this very unhinged look, and he calls Victor. So he's looking at the documents here, just giving a really unhinged look of like, okay, my revenge is slipped away from me. So Gus is going to act in a very big way. Very intimidating, very scary. Let's see. Beyond that, let's see. What was it? Sorry, folks. Just 1 second. Let me find the bearings here. Documents. He calls Victor. And he has Victor. Sorry. So we go from that. Basically, a meeting is being set up. As it happens, Kim arrives at H. Kim gets a call for a meeting from Howard Hamlin. She gets a call from Howard Hamlin for a meeting. Kim arrives at HHM, and we see like Chuck's memorial in the lobby. Again, really good direction by Michelle McLaren. Very, very good stuff there. And goes again. Good visuals, good direction by Michelle McLaren on the whole, of course, as per usual. We see Hamlin as the executor of Chuck's estate. Again, all the legalese. It's the funny little things, folks. The funny little things you learn that, hey, oh my God, HHN is a place full of lawyers. So, of course, one of our will guys, if not Jimmy, because we're so used to Jimmy as the will guy, Chuck wouldn't have Jimmy do his will. Therefore, Howard would handle the will. It makes all the sense in the world. It's great. So, if not be the executor of the estate post, his passing. So, it's like the small world of lawyers in Albuquerque. It's kind of fun. So, let's see. So he's meeting with Rebecca and Kim. Of course, Rebecca, she's very sorry she didn't get to talk with Kim at the service. Again, like things were kind of hectic, and they didn't really get a chance to talk. And very sad. She was really broken up, as we saw. Howard's there to talk over the estate. Essentially, Rebecca owns the estate, and she's going to liquidate the burned out property. But of course, allow Jimmy to swing by at some point, get any possessions at all that he wishes to collect. Kim just kind of shoots him down, saying, "No, Jimmy doesn't want anything. Trust me, he doesn't want anything." So beyond that. Let's see. So basically, Howard's just kind of going through the motions here. You can tell that Kim's like a bomb getting ready to go off here. Like she's giving off some vibes in the scene. Okay, something's brewing under the surface, and she's really kind of holding some back while Rebecca's in the room. And Rebecca can kind of sense this, and all of how it's all really kind of good, subtle direction there. Like you can kind of like Ray Seahorn. Like this is her MA episode, folks. I'm sure that she's going to impress further down the line, but right now it's very impressive. Trust me. So, let's see. Oh yes. So Jimmy doesn't want it. Howard gives Kim Jimmy's agreement letter and basically his share of the estate, which is $5,000. Kim explains to Rebecca, it's $5,000 because that's basically the amount of money you give to cut someone out of a will. It's basically so you can't contest the will. So you can see the. So Chuck may have been anticipating Jimmy's will knowledge with that. That's what that read as to me. So, she's asking, is there anything else? Howard tells her, okay, there's this endowment scholarship that he hoped that Jimmy would serve on the board of. Again, kind of like a scholarship for essentially the young lawyers of the world, I presume. Which of course is something that, again, given the whole American Samoa, like the origin of the whole like Jimmy versus Chuck thing, which is very ironic, and it is kind of a slap in the face that Jimmy would serve on a board of like a scholarship that Chuck would never allow. Which of course Kim's about to call him on momentarily here. Rebecca basically she sends sons off in the room here, and basically as she leaves, she says, give Jimmy my condolences. So she leaves. Says it was nice seeing you, and I believe she means that. Then we have the big Ray Seahorn Emmy moment where it's just, folks, we're not going to do it that much justice here, but gives this fantastic performance here, where she's very. Kim Wexler is so traditionally a composed character. Like she does not, the way Ray Seahorn plays her is that she's this really smart, well put together character, and she doesn't really. She's not really prone to emotional outbursts and stuff like this. She really keeps it all under lock and key. In this case, it's something really personal, and she does truly care about Jimmy. And basically what we're kind of building to in Better Call Saul here is that Jimmy this season is obviously he's unhinged, but he's really maintaining it, inward like Kim does usually. And Kim, I would wager to say that Kim, seeing that in other people, seeing that in Jimmy as someone she cares about, is like something that's like reflective of the qualities she's not crazy about herself, and she's seeing that projected on the Jimmy, and I think that's kind of fueling a lot of this under the surface. That was kind of my read on that. So essentially she blows up at Howard here. Sorry folks, this kind of I'm crumbling with the sheer awesomeness of what Kim's about to do here. So she chews Howard out over his actions of late in a big way. And folks, we love Howard Hamlin here. We do. And I got to tell you, such a rarefied position. It's such a rarefied position to see Howard. Again, like you feel sympathy for him, but at the same time, simultaneously, you do feel like, yeah, she's kind of right about it. Like Howard did do some bad things when you really think about it. I was so distracted by how emotionally invested he was in the first episode. I had no idea. So essentially, what happens here is she confronts him with the big question of like, what were you thinking dropping the big suicide bomb on Jimmy like the day after the funeral, like right after the not even the day after, like right after the funeral. What were you thinking? So you see Howard, he's very vulnerable and he's very shaken in this whole conversation here. And he says, "Well, I thought I owed." Yeah, I think he's genuine here. By the same token, I think he's realizing the folly and what he's been doing here. It's like, I owed it to Jimmy. He says, "Oh, you owed it to Jimmy, huh? Is that what you owed him? What about Rebecca? Did you tell him your little? Did you tell her your little theory?" So, um, let's see. Beyond that. I'm sorry, she gets really detailed here, and so I want to try not to lose it here. It's just like, you're. Oh, did you tell her that that Chuck set himself on fire? And and basically, she's basically saying to Howard that you spared her the pain, but you didn't spare Jimmy that pain. And basically, all you're offering Jimmy is pain here. And basically, he came there to alleviate his own guilt over what happened. And I think that's accurate. I think that's true to some extent. Absolutely, Demona. I absolutely agree with you. It was just like let's send Jimmy. Yeah, send Jimmy to the burned down house where his brother died, screaming, as Kim Wexler says so eloquently in that Emmy winning way. She's screaming at the top of her lungs, like, what's that even? Again, I love how just like she's finding her words and she's so over the moon peeved at Howard Hamlin. It's you can feel the ground shaking beneath her as she unfurls this large torrent of angry self reflection at Howard Hamlin. It's quite amazing. And it says, no, you didn't do, again, Howard's just clinging to, I didn't do it to hurt Jimmy. Or says, no, you didn't, you did it to make yourself feel better, unload your guilt. And again, she's absolutely, she's kind of right there. So no, it's all, as long as Howard Hamlin's okay, which since the get go, folks, is kind of what the mantra of on how Patrick Fabian plays Howard Hamlin. So on the money that Howard Hamlin he's a guy just he wants to keep the world spinning. He wants to keep his kind of highfalutin world spinning. He wants to be the guy who goes to the golf games and everything. That's Hamlin for you. So again, as long as Howard Hamlin's world keeps spinning, it's okay. As long as Howard Hamlin isn't burned by guilt, that's essentially what she's saying. And I think that was so on point. So with the money. So just, again, this moment here, Patrick Fabian, I think is one of the best deliveries in the episode for him, where he says like, "No, I don't think that's fair." And of course, that elicits again. He's just saying he's just so defensive and trying to get like any footing, like because he's in the wrong here. By the same token, again, he didn't mean for it to go this way. So she says, "Fair? Let's talk about fair." Again, just you see how visibly shaken Howard is in this scene. So let's yeah, let's let Jimmy dig around the fire damaged house where his brother died. Screaming. Apologies, folks. I jumped ahead a little bit to that part earlier. Yeah, get a keepsake or two. So fair. And then she's just scrounging for the words. And says, hey, let's let him serve on board of a scholarship that that Chuck never in a million years would have given to Jimmy again, the whole American Smo of it all. And yeah. Let's see. God, I'm sorry. I'm getting lost in the scene here, folks. So I'm thinking like poor Howard, but I mean again like Howard's asking what can I do to make it better, Kim? How how am I supposed to do this to Jimmy? Give him this letter like a final screw from beyond the grave. How am I supposed to do this to him? And it's just like what can I do to make it better? Like nothing. You can do nothing. Stay away from him. And just like wow, you're processing the amazing, just the amazing power of that scene. Again, it's one of honestly, again, I'm wowed by that scene. Even if we didn't get like the big end scene, I would have been happy with that, folks. I gotta be honest. Again, we have this teased up to us in the marketing. Is like this scene did not disappoint. Episode 2, nonetheless. I mean, just wow. Sorry, folks. Just no pun intended. I need to catch my breath after that scene. Exactly. I'm sorry, Damona's just on fire here in the comments. She's absolutely getting it right on the money here. It's, yeah, well, just 1, 2, 3 items from the belongings of his brother. I mean, yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right, Damona's. That phone call about the funeral and the speech was very hard to watch as well. I absolutely agree with you. And again, oh my God, we talked about it ad nauseum. The first episode, it was absolutely the editing on that was so fantastic, and these episodes are so well put together. And the fact that we kind of circumvented all the traditional funeral stuff, and we kind of jazzed it up, and we kind of did it in a different way. It's kind of like with the courtroom stuff here. Like we never stepped foot inside a courtroom because it's been done to death, and yet we do something kind of different with it, with like a bar hearing instead of like an actual trial. Yeah, it's great. Okay, folks, we're ramping down here. Let's see, we're getting close to the end. Right about, I think we have a bit of preamble. Then we have the big kind of like, why is it called breath? Aside from Kim Wexler getting breath like after that big kind of like, oh my God, it's a lot to decompress there. Oh yes. So Jimmy returns with food as he promised at the very top of things. Kim, she set up her office. She's in the process of setting up her office. She doesn't give Jimmy the letter. She hides the letter in the settlement and everything, like the thing from the sign. And again, Jimmy's so sweet about everything here. He's just so sweet about, like, he's talking about like, oh, what movie do you want to watch? White Heat or Jaws 3? I believe it's Jaws 3D, and Cagney wins this one. So again, I love this, the adorable, like Jim and Kim. They love these, if not obscure, they like movies that not traditionally a lot of people like kind of love. I like that they're open, like the Jaws 3s and the White Heats of the world. I love that. So. Let's see. So again, I love the shift in the blocking here, where we have Kim in focus here, then we shift to Jimmy in focus. Where when Jimmy's in focus, we see that again, like they're both kind of holding something back. Jimmy's not necessarily lying because he did do a job interview and he does have stuff lined up. By the same token, Kim is lying to him here, saying, "Oh, I didn't do anything eventful. It's just stayed here the whole day." So again, they're both keeping something from each other. Very interesting. Jimmy's hiding his emotion. She's hiding the truth here, and not like a liar reveal way, folks. Trust me, this show's better than like a liar reveal. It's all, but if they do a liar reveal, trust me, it's like top tier liar reveal, and it's an organic liar reveal, which is far better than the usual trope that we see time and time again in things. So let's see, going from kind of a loving couple, like, oh yeah, just to highlight this real quick. I love that we've continually done this since season 2. We've had Jim and Kim. They've had these really tasteful sex scenes where essentially what we do here, again, we don't have a sex scene, but what we do here is that these are characters that they're romantic in non-traditional senses, and they're together in every sense. And like, again, we don't need to do the obvious things. We don't need to see them get intense. We don't do anything like that. But we just have the simple thing where they're watching a movie together, and she kisses him, and we go out of focus, and we focus on the fish tank as she begins, like, she kind of climbs on top of him. And again, we don't go like wild or comedic with it. It just feels really soft and natural. And then we just kind of cut to the post-coital kind of glow of it all, where she's sleeping, and it's cute and tasteful. I love it. They know how to do this. And Michelle McLaren, I thought she did an excellent job with that rack and focus and everything. I know there's various people on the crew here, so if in the off chance of any cameramen or first ADs on Better Call Saul are watching this for this episode, I apologize. If I say McLaren, you guys know from Vince Gilligan himself, it's a group effort. So if I snub anyone, my deepest apologies. But I'm thinking of all you in spirit. When I say one name, folks, I'm mentioning many names, but I'm trying to save time. So, following that, so Jimmy wakes up. He dons his tracksuit, which will be very important, which is kind of a catch from Breaking Bad when Jesse Pinkman was beaten in the was beaten by Hank Schrader. Jimmy approached him in that very same tracksuit, if not a very similar tracksuit. So it's going to be important. So let's see if he's basically, as he's in the jumpsuit. He also, I'm sorry, before the jumpsuit, he's looking online. He finds the very same Hummel, the Bavarian boy, the Hummel that was in the case he was looking at, and apparently it goes for $8,740.75, at least by some collectors. They've been bidding that much for that little figurine. So Jimmy sees this as an opportunity. He calls Mike for a job, most likely to steal that Hummel. And my God, is that going to be impressive? I'm sure it's going to be impressive. So, okay, so the same night as Jimmy's doing that, we cut to the cartel stuff going on here. So we got Nacho and Arturo doing the pickups. We have Tyrus, Arturo, Nacho, and Victor, and they're doing the pickup. And we saw the pickup go on last. I love that we've set up things that we can see the payoffs of these. And very.
It kind of goes with the show. It's kind of like a. Oftentimes we've kind of found ourselves kind of struggling with that through the show, like a little bit more than sorry, I just lost Breaking Bad for a second. In a little bit, that's the thing, Dragon. I feel like these scenes with Mike, as if this hasn't been said already, like
as if we haven't had more reason to quote unquote hurt Mike. It's almost kind of like a yin to a yang, where he's like, he's like, all right, I'll do it, but basically I'm doing you a favor,
Yeah.
All
right. So on to the big final scene, Tika, the big cartel scene. So we have like the big drug exchange going on here. So we're trying to get 6 bricks, as we've seen them try to do last time. Arturo's asking if Nacho has his back, and we see that put into practice here. Where why don't you take us through the scene?
Okay. So yeah, as you said, it's very much kind of a callback to the Breaking Bad of it all, and oh man, God, I gotta say, Dragon, just seeing Tyrus and Victor as kind of like major players again, and not people who are going to get horrifically killed at a certain point. Like, no, we're alive and well, and we're breathing air, and importantly for Victor, there's not a box cutter in our throat. Yay.
And again, I love that we've seen this scene the way it went in favor of our guys before. So we're assuming, okay, things are going to go well for them again. Like they're going to get the six brick of product and everything's going to be fine. And now we have like a Mexican standoff going on now that Hector Salamanca's incommunicado, essentially, now that he's kind of comatose. And things.
So essentially, Papa Nacho is not too far off with his being trapped in the lifestyle observation, because Nacho, he just has to get himself into these types of situations just to get out with his head out. Essentially, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So basically, after this kind of Mexican standoff we have going on here, guns are drawn. Again, Nacho's trying to get out with his head alive. Essentially, in this situation, he's backing up Arturo because that's the only play he can make. They give him the 6 brick, and they're on their way out. And as they're on their way out, we get this overhead shot, this kind of McLaren style overhead shot as they walk back, and you think, basically, it's such a Godfather moment. I love it. Then basically with the namesake of the episode here. So we see Gus Fring enter the fray, and then what happens, Tiki?
Oh God. Oh boy, Dragon. He pulls a plastic bag over Arturo's head. Because like I said, he's just like, I just saw Daredevil season 1. Creative kill.
And of course, folks, essentially what they did in this scene
here,
was
really the way that Gus Fring decided his kills was like he just based it off of like really iconic kills for movies. Just like, I got to go stylish on this. God damn it!
Okay, I need to shoot a guy in the eye like the end of Godfather, and that's my barometer there. But no, in all seriousness, of course, they had folks. What they did here is they had to figure out a way to kind of predate the box cutter kill. They need a box cutter
essentially, right? That's pretty much it.
Essentially, Gus Fring is in an identical situation, which so apropos, so hilariously, Victor is alive in this scene, and again, we're showing like, okay, so then Victor, in spoiler for Breaking Bad, folks, Victor, let's just say he died horrifically in Breaking Bad. I won't say when, but he died horrifically in Breaking Bad. And that was done by Fring to prove a point, to kind of prove a lesson. That's what Fring's doing here. He needs to communicate a lesson. He's not just doing this willy-nilly. He's not just doing this because he's mad. He's doing this to prove a point because he's mad. And again, so we basically need like a box cover. We need a box cutter equivalent. I think they found it. I like this kill, by the way. It's kind of like you don't see it every day. It's kind of out of left field, and it's like he basically puts the bag over, say zip ties it, and again, it fits the episode title perfectly. Where it's like that last breath, and Nacho feels like he can't breathe. Thematically, so it's
Okay,
all
what
really.
haunts me about this, Dragon? What haunts me about this, and I do think between Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, this is probably one of the more brutal kills. Is Nacho could go up and save this guy anytime. Like, physically speaking, he could. You know what I mean? Like, it wouldn't take that much effort on Nacho's part to just run up and rip the bag off of his face. But because of Gus's presence, because Gus kind of commands the attention, he's just like, look at me.
Well, to be fair, Tiki, he does have a gun pointed at him, so he can't really do that.
Okay, no, I understand that. I understand that he's got a gun. I'm just saying, Dragon. Just like I said, physically, still, like if he didn't have that gun, that's what I'm saying. It's like it's the so close yet so far of it all.
Of course, just the framing of all the framing of this is perfect because we have try to get it right here. It's so great. So we have Gus, we have Nacho, and we have Arturo on the ground. All three so well framed in this shot here. Where again we're in essentially it's a crawl space scene. It's the scene crawl space where Walter White is on his knees in the desert and he has to look at Fring, basically giving him this really intimidating message.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we just have like the death with a point, with kind of a bit of a box cutter message there. And essentially, again, the fact that Gus is doing it himself too, again, very akin to the box cutter. I like that he got his own hands dirty on this too, because again, he wants to make point that you took something very profound away from me, and he's making him watch as he's making it. Here's the thing that's so perverse and interesting about it to me, Tiki. It's like basically, I don't know if Fring's aware of this or not. It's something so creepy. But the creepiest idea in the whole episode to me, I got to tell you, from a character level, is the fact that Fring, he's enacting his own trauma, that he was Hector Salamanca forced him to watch Max die. And that's what he's doing. To Nacho and Arturo, he's forcing him to watch his friend or his other kind of counterpart die in front of him.
You're right. You're right. It is. It very much goes back to that.
Of course, like I know what you've done. Salamancas do not. You understand. Look at me. From now on, you are mine.
Mine. And Dragon, I love how we emphasize that because it's not just like you work for me now. It's like, no, like I am, like you are my property.
So Nacho helpless. I just love how helpless Nacho is in this whole scene. He watches Arturo die, and then of course like the last breathe. It's like he's the last breath there, and it's that's perfect. So I part of me wonders this. I wonder on some level if Gus is expressing. I gotta tell you, I think deep down, Nacho's letting Nacho live. Not just again, one, it's for the lesson of his old heritage of he was left alive, so he'd learn a lesson. Therefore, he enacts it on others. I think that's the main reason. But I think on a deeper level, I think Gus is in some part grateful to Nacho that he did exact revenge, but not again. There's a lesson to be learned that you exacted revenge without my okay. So you're gonna be able to live, but you're gonna live as my pawn. I'm in control of you now. That sort of thing.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Of course, because this is a little late, Dragon, we just watched episode 3 actually. So when we do episode 3 in just a couple days, we will be back with spec on episode 4. My God, there's a lot to talk about there. Let's see. Anything else we're missing, Dragon?
Well, I mean, we don't need to go over the promo, and we'll save spec for next time. So just the final thoughts.
All right. Well, final thoughts. First of all, Dragon. I just want to address this. Yeah, my mic was really on the fritz during that conversation with Howard, Dragon. So I wasn't even paying attention to what you were saying or how you were trying to get my attention because I was just like, no, this can't be happening. My mic is off now. God damn it. So Dragon, I very much apologize for that. Because that's kind of the reason I was so kind of frazzled when I re-entered the conversation. So I'll just say this right now, Dragon, just to get it out there. That conversation with Hamlin, that whole you want to talk about fair thing, and just all the cliffhangerness of it. Of course, we're gonna see the letter resolved sooner rather than later, but just the verbal takedown of Howard Hamlin. One, Dragon, and again, I apologize if you were because I'm sure I probably left you kind of gasping for air there, and trust me, I was kind of on the other end doing the same thing, kind of hitting the panic button. But one, I feel like with Kim, the big thing with her is that it's just like, of course we're gonna have a lot to speculate with her, but I don't know, I just feel like sorry, I'm kind of trying to balance this in next episode, so maybe I should just shut up. And but Dragon, like I said, suffice to say, trust me, I was just as frustrated as you were when I just randomly dropped out of the conversation around the time.
What did you think of the Hamlet of the whole scene? Just overall, what did you think of the scene?
What I think of like I said, what I thought of the scene was, it was just fantastic. It was brutal. It was just like, the kind of the Tom Schnauz, like, bullets being fired with words in a way, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Oh, and just importantly, Dragon, my point was, I think that what Kim is doing right here to Hamlin is essentially what Hamlin was doing to Jimmy. She's kind of unloading on him to make herself feel better.
I think that's fair. I think in part that's fair. By the same token, again, as kind of I somewhat said it, I botched it when I was saying it, but I was kind of getting at was that Hamlin, he's I think Hamlin truly he didn't mean for any of that to come across, but again, you saw inklings of what Hamlin was trying to do. He was hoping that Jimmy was going to give him something to assuade his guilt, and he did come there with a purpose, which if you really look at it and the way Kim kind of puts it on Front Street here, it's like, yeah, that's he did do something kind of bad there, and we're calling him on it, which again I was like, yeah, that's good writing right there. We're not forgetting anything with that. Sure. And I gotta tell you, I think this is Kim's equivalent to the best part of Expenses, where Jimmy had that breakdown. This is like Kim doing something very uncharacteristic for her, where she's getting very loud and emotional.
Oh, I could totally see that. Yeah.
I mean, Schnauz is a charm on like those character breakdowns, man. Like that's where he shines. Like those huge, like he knows how to end an episode, or at least get to like the big climax of an episode.
So again, Dragon, I apologize that my mic was like, nope. Or okay, just imagine my mic being like grumpy Mike Ehrmantraut. He's like, you guys are late for the podcast, so you're not gonna get to talk about the most important scene. Does that make it any better, Dragon?
Let's not get into that here.
all right. I'm here to ruin Tiki's day. That's why you do it on Wednesdays.
Wait, Demona has posed an interesting question here. Let me read it out. Let me get a little shout out here. Demona B is asking, is it just me, or is it real that one of you says always Gus while the other says Fring? Huh.
You know what? That could be. I feel like I have a tendency to say Gus over Fring.
I think for the most part, I think I like to say Gus once in a while, but I think she might have a point. I do say Fring, I think, more than Gus. So I don't know. It's pretty. I think she might be on the sign there. Very observant. Top points. Top marks. Back to the Schnauz game. Absolutely. Schnauz. Beautiful man, beautiful writer. I love him. So, so it's final. I mean, anything else you want to hit before we kind of wrap up?
Like I said, I'm just like I apologize for the awful timing of my microphone.
You missed the MEC, darn it. Okay, so I guess you start us off in final thoughts.
I just did my final thoughts, Dragon. Those were my final thoughts. Kind of like,
okay, fine. Okay, my final thoughts. So I think this episode we were ramping up fast, and we're delivering on the Breaking Bad premise of this season. Things are definitely going to be linking up more and more. So it definitely feels very Breaking Bad, the ending especially. Mm-hmm. I think again we're going very audience dependent this season. I think that's a great choice. It's kind of a really audience dependent take on Jimmy's headspace. which again is absolutely earned by season 4. Ray Seahorn, she amazed. We got a new side of Kim Wexler. We're going to see more. We're going to develop this as we go on, which would be very impressive, I'm sure. And again, it makes me dread more and more things going south between these two kids. You just want to see them end up together. You want to see there's a happy ending between these two kids. It's a love story, folks. In this case, it's Romeo and Juliet, which is a tragedy of a love story. So very
But
intense.
you know my theory on the Gene stuff, though. We're gonna get a happy ending eventually, Dragon. Eventually.
So very intense direction with the nacho stuff, and of course, very mundane direction with the, with the intensity and with intensity within the mundanity, with the Howard Hamlin scenes. Like, oh my god, we're ramping things up as much as we can, and it's like
The Howard Hamlin scene was like the perfect example of the mission statement of the show, which was just like strap yourselves in because conversations are gonna feel like roller coaster rides.
Absolutely.
All right.
Okay, so that said, remember, kids, when you get that phone call, make it count. Better Call Saul. Saul Goodman and Associates is the one-stop shop for all your legal needs.
And with that, we are adjourned.
We could totally be lawyers.
Totally. I'm gonna screw up you guys' whole podcast.
You are mine.